question is purpose of integral health. This is very good. So ordinarily, because a lot depends on the purpose. So very often people want to be healthy. Why they want to be healthy? Because they don't like suffering, or because they want to enjoy life. Well, enjoyment is, even Ayurveda says that you must be in a state of good health to be happy with life. So it is true that if one is healthy, one is happy. So this is the bare minimum. But in integral yoga, a healthy body is a prerequisite for transformation. Sri Aurobindo and the mother gave so much importance to health at various levels. Now, why this? Because here the purpose is very different. Here the purpose is not to maintain the status quo of the body and mind. If that was the purpose, there are several yogas which teach us how to align. But here the purpose is the progressive evolution of the mind, the heart, the life force, and the body. Body itself. It has to follow the rhythm of a universal progress until man is transmuted, loses his kinship with humanity, and is transmuted into another being, a new being. And through that process, we have established a divine life in a divine body. So now, if part of us is open and the other part resists, there is going to be a terrible conflict. Now, I'll give an example. Take, for instance, that very often people who are very well, they are not much of a, thinking kind of humanity, but they're just happy-go-lucky and they are well adapted with their bodies, and they generally lead a, relatively healthy life, provided they don't have certain habits. But the moment the mind comes in, why? Because mind has started drawing up energy which goes into the nourishing of the body. Now it has started drawing that energy upward into mental thought, into many kinds of mental creativity. So now that same energy which was feeding the body and maintaining a good health and equilibrium starts feeding the mind. On top of it, now mind wants to also rule upon the body. So now mind starts dictating what you should do and what you should not do. And the mind doesn't have a means of knowledge. So what happens? The body starts getting confused. There was a very good equilibrium between the body and the vital that gets disturbed as the mind gets active. Take a simple example. Mother uses this, in fact, anecdote. She says when she had come, they saw that how villagers in India, they take bath in a pool, and the cattle are also taking a bath there, and the water is very dirty, and they would drink the same water. And she said, and they would remain fine. And then she said, but if somebody told them that this water, if you drink, you can get cholera, and she gives example of places, then, well, they would die, all of them would die, because it's not just one person having cholera. Oh my God, all of us will get cholera, and all of them, succumb to the illness. So there is a kind of harmony which we find in the simplicity of life. But then we can't go back to that. She makes it very clear, because we are here to go further. We have entered the mental evolution. We can't go back to the old simplicity of the village life. We all have grown up, drinking water from the well. We never thought of, all these filters. They are very modern things. But that time we have all grown up. We never knew, all these viruses, so much must be happening around. Nobody studied, nobody knew. People had a little illness. Now this, mental labeling was not there. So there was a big advantage. Now, because of the labeling of the mind trying to control everything, eat this, don't eat this. Earlier, it was like a very simple understanding within which people lived. And it worked very well. So now the coming of the mind disturbed the balance of the vital humanity and of course the animal life. So we see new kinds of diseases came up. Now we have textbooks of diseases. Earlier there were few doctors, few hospitals, few diseases. So now we have a whole textbook of diseases, and they are multiplying incidentally with more and more research, more and more manipulation, because that's how the mind operates. So it's not that we can go back to that. Now we have to go beyond the mind. So when we go beyond the mind, then again a new element is introduced into the system. It's like two people are living in a room and they're very happy. They've tried and adjusted to each other. Then a third one comes. Who is the third person? The baby. Now when the baby comes in a house, if I ask a question, who really controls the house? Isn't it? So baby is a baby. So who controls the house? Still the baby controls the house. Why? Because the baby has come, everything begins to start getting rescheduled, reorganized. The old routine changes. And when the baby grows up, who controls the house? Baby. Because by then you are getting old. So the spiritual element is like a baby. The moment it enters, things start getting organized around it. See, people who don't turn to spiritual life, they have one set of conflicts which are mostly about outer life. So, what are the conflicts? Somebody who is not taken to spiritual life. The conflicts are whether I should take up this job or that job. Will it give me more money or less money? These are the conflicts. Whether I should have this neighbor or that neighbor, whether I should marry this person or that person, is based on purely outer things. But the moment you take to spiritual life, a new field of conflict opens. I am doing this action. Is it the right thing to do? Is it the good thing to do? Is it going to help me? Now doesn't stay with right and wrong. Even an evolved humanity thinks of right and wrong. Now it comes to its impact upon my spiritual life. Things which were considered as normal, they become a problem because you are trying to ascend. So you have to transcend these things. So the moment a spiritual element comes, the whole life begins to get reorganized. So the old balance is disturbed and a new balance is yet to come. There is a time when the mental control is taken away. This letter of Sri Aurobindo, he describes it very interestingly. And normally we live a life according to mental control. So we have a framework within which we operate. Now there comes a time when this mental control is taken away, but the full psychic and spiritual control has not yet emerged. So there are various kinds of disequilibrium during that period. So this is one part. But when the spiritual element grows, like when the baby grows, then it will start controlling. So you see, it is like this. When the baby is small, it controls the household by default. But when the baby is bigger, he controls the household in a different way. So when the baby is small, it's helpless, weak, it cannot do anything. Parents are doing everything, nurturing the baby, and the baby, is at their mercy. Yet the baby is indirectly controlling. But when the baby is grown up, when parents can't pay a bill based on, Paytm or anything, they look at you, please, can you do it? And he says, it is as simple as that. So the same thing happens with the spiritual evolution. So because we have entered into the spiritual and psychic evolution, we have to understand that we are being exposed to new kinds of forces. As a result of which, even resistances which were held within are coming up because there is the mental shield is broken, as it were. And hence, new kinds of possibilities, but new kinds of difficulties are going to emerge in man's individual as well as in his collective life. And we have to go through that challenge. And the purpose of integral health is precisely to help us navigate through this evolutionary challenge in which we are now caught up. So we are caught up in an evolutionary struggle. To sum it up, on one side there are forces of an ascending evolution, constructive forces. On the other side, as a reaction and revolt, there are forces of a completely opposite kind which were, at bay. They have also started rushing into the field. And therefore, now, integral health is a means, it's an art by which we navigate through this new kind of conflict which humanities experience. One last example, must have seen in olden times there used to be a system of hafta. So what was hafta? There were some local dons, mawalis. Now they do it in the name of puja. So just before puja they'll come and take chanda, donation. So... but thing is that they also will take care of you against other gundas. Now they are the ones who will save you even if police comes and does excesses. So you are actually feeding the gundas to safeguard you against the gundas. Okay, so now imagine in a place you feel it's not a good system. So one man raises the voice. Now, up till now, what were people doing? The business people, the household, they were giving some money to buy peace. And life was peaceful. But it's not the correct thing to do. It's not the right thing. So one person says, no, this is not the right system. So we have movies based on that. And one police officer says, I'm going to change the system. Now, the peace of everybody is disturbed. Because now a new balance has to come which is more in sync with, the dignity of man. So something similar happens in our normal life, that because we are in impact with the new forces, these forces, these gundas who were saying nothing, you were paying them money, and when you walked past them, they would also, you say hello and they would say hello. Now they don't say hello because now they look into you as an enemy. You are trying to upset their rule. So these forces of a higher order are upsetting the reign of many forces, forces of death, ignorance, unconsciousness, falsehood. So they are fighting back a last ditch effort. So this is the dimension which Sri Aurobindo opens us in a completely very different landscape from the way we understand life. And that's why we see many new problems and challenges coming up in our individual life, social life, national life, and of course, world life.